Accessing library computer data.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Captain's Drydock, where in this episode we are concentrating on construction. Yes, on the umpteenth episode we only just got round to constructing the rest of the model. Now if you are a subscriber, thanks so much, and if you are a regular watcher you would realise that there's been loads of things that I've added to the model, which has meant it's been quite a long journey, because my bar for this model is around about that high, because I wanted lights, I wanted sound, I wanted to even put a phasor array effect in there. Practically this thing could make Earl Grey tea. Well, not quite, but that's all because the internet has got so many examples of amazing modelers, some of which are probably watching this now, that gave such good examples of what they did, which I wanted to incorporate in my D. Now in this episode I would say it's about 90 to 95% constructed, so we're pretty much almost there. The last 10 and 5% is pretty much like left apart just for ease of painting later, which will be on the next episode. Quite fittingly, I'm wearing the mustard colours of engineering, well, engineering for Star Trek Next Generation, and over on my right hand side you can see it's pretty much constructed. And if you're a bit bored with me just waffling on and you don't want to see the rest of the video, just skip to the very last scene and you will see this all singing and dancing, and I hope you enjoy it. That's another thing, the lacquer over my right hand side. Actually, let me show you a screenshot. Yes, that is going to be part of the base of the model. That is going to light up and it's going to be functional. So those buttons, or the buttons that I want to be functional, will be touch sensitive, and the whole display will be backlit. So look forward to that. Before I continue to construct this model, ironically, I need to destruct it, so to correct an inherent kit issue with the warp engine alignment. Looking carefully, we can see they're not level whatsoever as the engines bow inwards. This is something I should have spotted in the beginning of this build, which could have easily been corrected with a hot air gun. But the pylons now have wires embedded in them that feed into the LEDs in the warp engines. So now I'll need to break up the Dremel and carefully weaken the joint, snap and re-glue using a specialised 2-part epoxy resin that's formulated to cure and behave like plastic, where I can sand down later. Now that's corrected, I need to address the type of glue I want to use for the rest of the model. Normally I'd use a model making contact cement or super glue for gluing different materials together. However, this is a model containing delicate electronics, where there's always a chance, no matter how remote, of something going wrong during a build. And that would risk me having to break open the whole thing like an egg in the process to try and correct it. So I investigated using a glue that is commonly used for Stormtrooper armour, which I used in mine. E6000 glue is flexible and strong enough for the wear and tear of trooping, which will make it ideal for the Enterprise D. This also has the added benefit that you can slowly pry it apart if need be, as it sets like a gel that doesn't damage the material. But by chance, a friend that works in the IT department at my work told me about a similar glue called B7000. This behaves in the same way and is used to stick iPad and phone screens down. Also, it has the added benefits of a precise nozzle and a pin in the cap that keeps it unblocked. Now, why don't all glues have this? Now, before encasing the electronics in its plastic tomb, so I'm going to add a blob of glue on any exposed contacts that I see, which will act as a barrier if the wire accidentally touches it. Taking a lesson from what they're doing over at the Chernobyl power plant, I've made an outer casing to fit exactly over the circuit board made from plastic card, so it protects the terminals and exposed delicate components. Although there doesn't seem to be that there's any wires that can interfere, which I've made sure that they're stuck down, there's always a chance something will touch them when attaching the upper section of the engineering. Starting from the warp engines, I'll carefully attach the clear parts, making sure the glue doesn't cover it. But I do recommend, before gluing anything down, always do a dry test fit just in case something needs sanding or if there's an obstruction. Speaking from experience, things get really messy when you have a whole load of glue on your parts and you find that nothing fits. The next step is to attach the upper engineering section, making sure the wires, LEDs and fibre optics are in the right position. Then, using several mini clamps, it's left overnight to make sure the glue has set to its optimal bond strength. Before attaching the sadly discontinued accurate Tetron neck replacement, that was a mouthful, I need to make sure the impulse engine wires are secure and tidy by using a hot glue gun. This is where I need to remember to add the fibre optics that were referred to the studio model's navigation lights. A simple method to make sure the fibre optic gets enough light is to glue the end onto any of the LED strips in the engineering section with a hot glue gun. To hold the neck in place, a combination of masking tape and elastic bands give enough pressure to make the seal, and again, left overnight. It's only now that I can correct yet another missing detail on the kit. Referring to the studio model, we can see that there's missing ridges. This I'll correct with thin plastic card using standard contact cement. A tiny detail that I'm impressed that Green Strawberry's brass etchings reflected what the studio model has are the two greeblies either side of the spine. As it's brass on plastic, I'm going to use super glue. By the way, if you know what these actually represent on the Enterprise, I'd love to know, so pop it down in the comments section below. Top tip: use a toothpick when you need to apply a teeny tiny amount of anything such as glue. This is so we don't end up with messy blobs all over your model and drowning the part that's being stuck down. To blend the neck into the spine, I've used plastic card to build up the slope and added filler, which is sanded until there's a seamless blend. It's now at the saucer section that making sure the wires are labelled pays off. To attach the saucer section, I was going to use extra strong magnets so I could have the option to remove it at any time, but I opted for the more precise method of nuts and bolts. This will make the saucer section sturdier and there's no chance of it accidentally being knocked off or sliding out of place. There's two reasons I'm not gluing this down. The first is that it will make painting a large awkward model easier. Also, I plan to take this to Comic Con at some point this year after it's completed and painted, where I can just remove the saucer section and get one of the cast members to autograph it at the bottom. But I better hurry up before the cast starts dying off. As the model grows, so too the stand. So I've relocated the location blocks to a larger piece of MDF using a hot glue gun and adding gaffer tape so to protect the model when it comes to painting. And I've also added the correct size dowling to keep the model level so it doesn't rock about when I'm working on it. To attach the bridge, the fibre optic that connects to the strobe LED needs to be prepared. This fibre optic will need to be bent at a 90-degree angle so to keep it snug and out the way of the negative space in the saucer section. Using the gentle heat of a soldering iron is ideal, where as soon as the fibre optic starts softening, gently but quickly make the bend and hold it until it cools. A dry test fitting revealed the bridge part has an inherent yet another hidden kit issue. It's not centered. To fix this, I've dremeled the flange where I can now reposition it correctly. So before I forget, I am actually going to be launching a new playlist called Academy, and essentially that's what it is. It's a one-stop shop to learning new skills, tips and techniques that you've probably seen me do on the Enterprise D, but you don't want to go back for the catalogue of my episodes trying to find out how did he do this, how did he do that, because I want to learn myself. Well, this playlist, Academy, will show you in very compartmentalized, digestible episodes how to find a resistor to an LED, to how to solder, to how to use a dual action airbrush, and everything else besides. There'll be short videos, very digestible, because I know what it's like when you're looking on forums and YouTube videos of how-tos. Sometimes people skip steps assuming that you know a little bit or everything about a certain subject matter, but I won't do that. I will take you carefully through it and you will learn a lot, and so will I, because I've learned so much from this Enterprise D model and I want to share what I've learned with you guys. So keep an eye out for that. This is where having connectors rather than soldering different sections saves a lot of hassle. There's 3 components located in the top saucer section: the strobe, the arboretum and the phaser array, and they all need to be connected to the wires coming from the neck. To make things easier for painting, I'm not fastening the 2 parts of the saucer section together yet. Before I can test the lighting still works and postpone the potential panic of having to rip everything back open to fix it, I need to also test the stands by feeding all the wires down the brass tube, making sure that they fit, and then add the dim plug and glue it flush to the stand using 2-part epoxy resin and left to harden overnight. To stop the model sliding down the rest of the tube like a pole dancer, I'm adding a thin brass rod through the tube, which I'll secure later. And there we have it. Even unpainted, she's a beautiful ship in my opinion. But now we have to do the test voyage to see if everything works. First, I need to attach the 12-volt power supply, and all I have to do now is press the start sequence button.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
So what did you think? Awesome, isn't it? It's taken me so long to actually get to this stage, and I'm absolutely ecstatic just filming that. I was like holding my breath as I was panning my camera around so you can actually hear the theme tune and the sound effects in the background as well, because I didn't actually have this mic close to the speaker, but it's pretty loud. So if you have got any comments about this video, by all means just pop them down below, because it helps me know if there's people out there watching and if you're still interested in me making more of these videos. And if you do want to see more of these videos, if you haven't done already, click on the subscribe button. But if you don't want to do that and you don't want to have an account, that's fine. Just click onto the top bar, the search bar, and pop in Captain's Drydock, and my channel should pop up pretty much on the top. So these episodes take a while to do, and this episode was incredibly stressful because if you see my previous episodes, there was some trials and tribulations in making sure the electronics worked after I actually closed everything down. And so what I'm going to do about 3-minute shorts. That's right, 3-minute shorts, like very small videos. So, you know, you don't have to wait for another month or a couple of weeks for the next segment to actually be uploaded, because these things take time and I don't want to rush. Being model makers, you shouldn't rush, especially if it's your hobby, because the next episode is painting. The actual studio model has around about 4 to 5 shades of color, and the stencils, the Aztec pattern is very complex, and a lot of the companies out there that do those stencils have either folded or, unfortunately, Don's Light and Magic, he sadly passed away, the guy that runs that website who made that stencil. So I'm working on my own stencils to be laser cut. That's right, I'm going to actually try and work out how to do that. I've contacted a number of companies, and you will be first to know if I'm successful, because the last thing I want to do is get print out all those stencils onto paper, onto stencil paper, and slowly cut out every single Aztec pattern. It's model makers that have done that, kudos to you, but I want to avoid that at all costs. As I get older, time is precious, so I will let you know if I actually make these stencils by lasers. Anyway, that's enough of that. So in the meantime, I hope you have a great time making your own models, or if you want to carry on watching the rest of my videos, please do so. Leave comments, subscribe, do all the things that most YouTubers bang on about, so I won't repeat myself anymore. And I'll see you in the next video short or the next episode. You take care, cadets. Bye.
Accessing library computer data.